we talked about procrastination and indecision. If you have a hard time making the decisions, we want to go through a series of steps, right? And the series of steps that we want to go through, for those of you that missed it, the first thing we want to do is we want to gather information. What is it that's making us freeze about this particular thing? What is it? Once we have all the information, then we have a decision and we can move forward. So the next step is then we have to identify our priorities. How much of a priority is this? And we want to go back to Rachel for a second. And I say Rachel is a fictitious person, but there's a Rachel in all of us. It could be our next door neighbor. It could be our relatives. It could be us. Okay. There are Rachels all around us. But the reality is, what are the priorities? If it's costing her a job promotion, if it's costing a personal relationship, if she's living in her car because she doesn't have room in her house to sleep and to eat and to live, that's a problem. Why? Because she's still paying for the rent or the mortgage on the property, right? So it gets expensive. And now to actually have somebody come in and haul all this stuff away, $12,000. That's a small part of a down payment on a house. You know what I mean? She could have gotten to the next home or something. She could have, bought a new car, down payment on a car or something. She could have used the money in a profitable sort of way other than just clearing out clutter because she was paralyzed, right? No shame in being paralyzed, but the shame comes from the life that happens after that, where you're living in your car and you're showering at the gym and all this stuff to try to keep up the appearance. Hey, I got my life put together. When in fact, there are other issues, right? And if we go back to Rachel for a second, one of the things that was interesting about this particular scenario, and I do have a list of places we can go online that are licensed places. There are therapists on here. There are places where you can get online counseling if you're scared to leave your house or if you're ashamed to meet with someone face to face. There are a lot of resources here. And so if you go to the show notes for today's show, and that is over, what is today's show? That is this YouTube thing. I'll leave this up for a second so that you can take a look at that. This is a list that you can tag into either for yourself or for a member of your family that you're helping, or if it is in fact a client of yours, if you're a professional organizer or you are a professional house cleaner, this is a really great set of resources for you. Setting an appointment with yourself. These are color-coded moments where maybe she's going to meet with a therapist. Maybe she's going to meet with a professional organizer. Maybe she's actually going to do some decluttering and clear out something for the Super Saturday donation. But once it's on the calendar, it then takes on a life of its own because it allows us then to have real opportunities where we are actually dealing with this stuff instead of putting it off. Because by putting it off, that doesn't solve anything, right? That doesn't solve anything. It's just we find ourselves in a worse situation because procrastination and indecisiveness lead to only more clutter. And that only adds to the paralysis of the clutter that we have. Okay. So this is our life. And I want to remind us, this is our life. We get to live it, right? This is my life. I get to live my life the way I choose. And what I want to do is I want to choose to live it to the highest of my capabilities. And so when we talk about how are you living your life, do you need help? Do you need help? And if you do, where are you going to go to get the help? So like I said, we do have resources, but another thing that I would recommend, and this is something that we find helpful in Rachel's situation, is that there are a lot of people that are going through some of the same stuff. And so by joining a group, either an online group or joining a physical group, there might be a group in your area that's dealing with some of these very same issues. And a professional organizer, a lot of professional house cleaners, there are medical professionals that will help you find these groups. You can also do a search online for the area that you live in and just get connected with other people. Because what we're finding is there are a whole bunch of other people that are going through some of the same stuff that can help us so that we're not wandering through this alone, right? You do not have to go through this alone.